Hey, I can't believe I yap about a lot of things, and I forgot to talk about this project management stuff. So yeah, we're gonna have another episode just on the project management of game productions. Okay, um, I'm not gonna give you this file. This is so I used to make when I was a producer. I used to make this thing called Project Control Plan (PCP), and this is right after I went to Project Management Institute and got trained. And so this was when I was very disciplined and really uptight about paperwork and stuff. Okay, so in general, let me talk about the principle, and it still works. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we put a man on the moon. We built rockets using water flow project management. If you use agile to do that, I guess we will send our people to the sun and instead of the moon. You have to know what you're building, right, before you build it. So I would say, if I have to consolidate the old style waterfall project management discipline with a new agile designed for software development in live operation, and obviously I understand why, because in the waterfall, the change control is the resistance, it's the friction, it slows things down because it's basically asking the team to be more disciplined in the beginning when they designed it, so they don't, because it gets increasingly more expensive. If you're later in the project, you want to change something, it's just so much more expensive. So the waterfall is trying to basically make you to think really, really hard in the beginning of the project about what you're going to build. And of course you can change things, but the change control is to it's not about making you admit that you made a mistake, but it's making you justify making that change because they really don't like to change. You put a building together, you can't change the architecture or change the structure, right? Unless you really have to. But if you have to, spell it out. And look, if this is a defense project and you need to change something in the missile, even generals have to sign it. So you better have very good reasons. So in Agile, they just really want to relax that change control because change is happening every day. If every day you have change control blocking the way, nothing will ever get done. So I think what's happening is, it's both sides of the pendulum, and I think they're both swinging too far. Because if you start a project day one from Agile, you don't have to really define it very well because it's changing anyway. The term Agile implies that the team has to be agile. So you don't really need the discipline. And I remember back 20, 30 years ago, it's very important we spell out how the game is going to be built. Think about Hollywood movies. I can imagine that movies would use waterfall a lot more. And in TV shows or in a show where the live audience rating, or response may actually dictate your script change. Yeah, I think Agile will be great. So I'm not pro, I'm one thing or another. I'm just saying there's a suitable method for every stage of the project. Yeah, so there I've said it. So I'm not saying Agile is not good. I'm just saying it's important to determine what is the thing that you're trying to build. Okay, so it's got 4 pieces. The first one is scope. It means how big is the product you're building? Like, what does it contain? What does it not contain? That's scope. The second one is time. What's the schedule? How much time do you need? Third one is cost. Cost involves, do you need space? Do you need people? You need people how long? When do they come? When do they leave? Do you need to license software? Do you need to buy something? So that goes to cost. You can also say cost is budget or expenses. And the last one, and not the least, is quality. And in some cases, in some projects, they call it performance instead of quality. But in today's context, quality is good. So scope, time, cost, and quality, quadruple constraints. But look, if you master these things, if you really, really have discipline controlling all these 4 constraints, you'll be freed. So this is not about confinement. This is about you nail these things down, you get freedom because you can tweak them. So if you're running out of time, what would you do? If you're running out of time, we're super late doing the first 90% of the game, and now with the remaining 10%, we need another 90% of the game. But hey, someone came and told you you can't have it. You'll be going out of business. You do not have time to pay another, 1 year of salary. So you need to finish everything in a month. So what do? Any experienced producer knows this word. It's called triage. So you got to decide what features you're going to cut. And if you just rush the rest of the game and you don't cut anything, quality may sacrifice, as we have seen in a lot of Hollywood movies, or movies in general. Like they spend a lot of money up front, right? And towards the end, something happened. Like, the star died or something, or they cannot use that space anymore. Or the actress walked out. Anyway, so then, you gotta balance the 4. So the 4 is about striking a balance between the 4. And most of the time I've heard about sacrificing scope, right? I've never heard about sacrificing quality. That's a bad idea. It's almost like you make a beautiful dish, right? And then in the end, you throw a whole bunch of gravy on top and make a mess out of it. So now you have gravy, but you destroy it. You destroy your previous elegant work. So you wouldn't want to do that. You don't ever want to sacrifice quality. So, and this is why people would rather build a smaller game but have high quality, rather than build a very large game but you do not guarantee quality. Okay, let's talk about time and cost. Anyone from game industry with a production experience would tell you, you cannot throw more money at it. And it's true, you cannot throw 100 people on a project where it only needs 10, so now they're 10 times faster. No, you'll be spending all of the time keeping everyone up to date, doing meetings all day long. So you would not do that. There's, for those of you who understand project management a little bit, there's the mythical man month, meaning what I just said. You cannot have more people and speed up the project. It doesn't work quite like that. And that your communication cost would skyrocket. So you do not want to have a large team, super large team. Okay, and time obviously is the outcome. If you squeeze time, like if you want to ship a game, usually takes a year, you want to ship it in 10 months, most likely you would cut scope. You would not cut people, you would increase people. And there's risk management that we're not going to talk about today. Like the most important people on the critical path, they get sick or they leave, they quit. You need to have contingency plan. You have to assign probabilities to how likely that will happen and what's your backup plan when that happens. Then you're a responsible producer. Okay. Okay, let's talk about practical tips. So I just gave you a lot of theories. So here's what we do. You make a diagram that looks like this. You have 4 areas. What do I fill in each area? The first one is document. So how do you communicate? So communication is permeating everything in project management. So what is document for? Is to communicate your idea with other people. So game design document, technical design document, project schedule, all of that, that just communicate what is the scope of this project. Okay, the second one is change control. So if people want to change the scope, what's there to stop them? And what do they need to do to justify their change? So you can have a change control plan for scope, just for scope. I want to add something. I want to, reduce something. Okay, fill up this form. Okay, I'm not trying to create a bureaucracy, but I'm trying to create accountability. Like, you want to change? Okay, here's the form. We have a process. Go through this process, and we're gonna call for meetings. So people come in, because if you don't do this, people will come in and change blue to green, from green to red, and you never ship the game. Okay. And finally is meeting. So documents and meeting are the two most useful tool. Don't overdo meetings, because meeting is very time consuming. And who do you want to involve in the meeting? And when they come, what do you expect of them? Do they need to agree? Or do you need their approval? Or do you just need them to know? So these have to be very conscientious, okay? What's a document? What would the document communicate in the scope? Okay, the next one is time. What is a document to communicate time, about time, the project time aspect of the game production? It's a schedule, all right? You have seen Gantt chart, and it doesn't have to be Gantt chart. It could be any chart. And it could be just an Excel file. And you could use Microsoft Project or any other project management software you use. What's important is, you know what the deadline is. And anyone who can read these charts well, they would know who's on the critical path, and do you have too much slack? And, maybe you can rearrange them a little better, how to avoid interdependencies, or how to make sure the interdependencies don't ruin things, okay? All right, and change control too. If you do the project tracking well, you have an actual project and you have the planned project, right? And then the Gantt chart will actually show what was the original plan and what's the actual. And is there any chance to catch up? Because I don't appreciate the attitude of all software are shipped delayed. All games are shipped delayed. No game ever shipped on time. That's not true. I ship games on time all the time. It just, depends on how important is it, right? If the company is going out of business, yeah, you're gonna ship on time. You're gonna cut features and you're gonna ship on time. You're gonna sleep in the office. You don't go home. The entire team, and you're gonna ship on time. Okay, meeting, we typically do weekly meeting to see if we're on track. But as you get closer and closer to the deadline, to the shipping date, you either will have daily morning meetings to go through everyone's schedule, what you're going to work on today. Did you finish everything you said you're going to finish yesterday? Or it's going to be the producer or the project manager taking the schedule to each person. So this will spend more time on the producer or project manager's side, but for each individual, it will take him less time. All right. My practice was every person, when they come to office in the morning, there's a task list on their desk, so they know what to work on that day. Obviously, we have digital version of that, but if you don't have that, this still works. It's about communication. It's not about what means that you use to communicate. All right, cost, budget. If you're a bigger company, you meet with your finance. You explain how much money you spent last month and are you on track, with the original budget. And the budget meeting, you obviously have that meeting, producer have that meeting with the higher ups. You usually don't involve the team members. Okay, and the quality is, it shouldn't happen that much during the production. People may say, they need to start figuring out how to test the game. But there's a test plan, how the testers will test the game. And then you also will have a meeting, especially towards the later part of the project. But how you will test the game is important, depends on the feature, the type of genre of the game. So that's another subject I'm not going to expand. Thank you.